Shelby, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Doing good, thanks. What brings you in?
So, just been having a lot of thoughts, and I'm not really sure. I'm kind of in this phase in my life where I'm not really sure what I should do. So I'll kind of explain. So I'm in this relationship, and I met him in college. So it's been about 2 years. We were friends for about 6 months, and he recently just got a job in Georgia. And we're really serious. We've talked about the future. We've talked about marriage and kids. And I still have my job in Florida, so it's kind of a big decision for me to move to Georgia to uproot my whole life just for him. And before I move, I want to get engaged. I want that commitment, and that's something that we've talked about, and he knows that, and so I don't really see a problem on his end proposing, but I am having trouble because my family all lives in Florida, and they I think they got a bad first impression of him, and so they're really putting a lot of voices in my head and telling me, he's not the right person for you, you shouldn't move just for him, he should be compromising for you because, your whole life is here, your whole family is here. And I've also kind of seen that one of my close friends has some concerns about him too, and it's really been weighing on me because I just really value my family's opinion, and they mean the world to me, and obviously I wouldn't want to move to Georgia without him proposing, and I really need my parents' approval for him to propose. So I'm kind of just stuck because I'm not sure, should I be trying to convince my family that he's the right guy for me, or should I be listening to my family and maybe he's not the right guy for me? Because I feel like moving is such a big decision. I don't want to move and then realize that maybe my family was right. So I just have a lot of thoughts going on, and I'm just really, really struggling with deciding what to do.
Sure, I completely understand. What are some of the concerns that your family has about him?
So he has a job, but they think that he's a little bit lazy and maybe not going to be the most, what's the word, disciplined, and won't be the most assertive. He'll do anything that I say, so he doesn't really have some opinions on a lot of things, and also they see that he kind of has a rough family background, and he is not close with any of his family members. He's not close with his parents, and so I think that kind of concerns them because maybe because his parents are divorced, and my parents have this fear that maybe he'll start to be like his dad because his dad isn't the best guy. And I see, when I'm with my boyfriend, he's great to me, and I know that he loves me and I love him, but these are kind of red flags that my family sees, and I'm not sure if they'll be a deal breaker in the future, if when we have kids, if he is just not going to have an opinion on how we want to raise the kids together. So those are some of the concerns that they have about him.
I want to reflect back on you saying deal breakers. Mm-hmm. Are those things deal breakers for you?
I think that the whole kids thing, I think that would be a deal breaker for me. And it's kind of in the back of my mind, that fear that if he would become like his father, because that's, who he grew up with, and that's his role model. So I think that if he didn't have an opinion on, how many kids we had or what to do with our money, he's kind of that's how they think he's lazy, because he just spends money and he's not really organized. Yeah, those would definitely be a deal breaker for me, and that's kind of why I'm hesitant to move there with him, because it's it's in the future, having kids is in the future, so it's not right now. So I'm well, maybe he'll change, but my family doesn't really see him changing at all. Sure. Just where I'm struggling with, I think sometimes your family knows you better than yourself, but they just also don't see the good in him, which is why it's just so hard for me.
Have you had this conversation with him about some of those deal breakers?
Yeah, and he's improved a lot. Like I said, he has a job, and I think that he is saving towards getting me a ring, and so those are like small steps. But when I bring up the kids thing, he's kind of just like, well, I love you so much, I'll just do whatever you want to do. And hearing that, it's like, that's great. He's really supportive of me, but I don't know how I can, force him to have an opinion on something. It's just, yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, I guess they are deal breakers for me when I think about it.
So I wonder if maybe you're also kind of sharing the same thoughts that your family's having too. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, it's in the back of my mind. And I don't think I want to believe that they're true, because I've seen how much he's improved, and I hope that he can get there. But yeah, my family and my friends, they mean a lot to me, so I do agree with some of the things that they say, and I just don't know, like, is that a big enough reason to break up with him,
Sure. And have you spoke with your family about having some of those same concerns that they have?
So that's kind of the difficult part, is because my parents, they love me so much, and they're so protective over me, that every time I try and bring up those feelings, I kind of they're kind of just like, well, I told you so, so I've kind of just shut down when it comes to them, and I haven't brought them up recently, because I don't want to hear that. I want them to be supportive of me, and I'm just not getting that.
Sure, I completely understand. Have you thought about maybe going forward, having that discussion with them, and then maybe they can see that these are also things that you're aware that they exist, those issues, and that you're not going to make the judgment of going forward unless those things are taken care of, and letting them know you have your own mind too, and you're aware of them and you're working on them?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think that has to be the thing that I do before I decide to either move with him or stay here. So I think that that's kind of what I'm working up the courage to do, and I'm not sure if it would be better to have my boyfriend in this conversation as well, so maybe they can get to know where he's coming from, or if I should just voice my concerns directly to my parents and see what happens there.
Sure. Well, what do you think would happen if you did have a conversation with all of them at the same time?
I think it would be very emotional. I think that my boyfriend kind of feels this pressure from my parents to live up to their expectations, and I'll come to him, I'll be crying because my parents said all this about you, and I know it's not true, and it really weighs on me. So I think that it would be an emotional conversation, which is why I'm just like, I don't want my boyfriend to get scared off of my parents, because I know that would be a possibility, and that's kind of what I'm scared of.
Sure. Are there any other fears that you have for going forward with this, or maybe not going forward with this?
With the conversation with my parents, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about, what if I just didn't have the conversation? What if I just moved to Georgia with him? And I think one of my fears with that is that my family would just stop talking to me, and I would feel very alone. And I guess, I don't know if, I should build this life with my boyfriend, or I should be surrounded by the support and love of my family. Because right now I just feel like they won't love me if I choose to go with him.
Yeah, I wonder what alone would feel like for you. Have you thought about that?
I don't like to think about it. because I think that scares me. Like if I make the wrong decision and I'm alone, and I'll just feel like kind of a failure to my parents for not picking the right guy and not living up to their expectations. And then there's also, while I could be alone and that I move to Georgia and things don't work out, and then I'm completely alone and I don't have anyone. So I think that's a fear that just like really scares me. I've never been alone my whole life. I've always had my family, and even if I'm not in a relationship, I still have my friends. But if I just make the wrong decision, then I'm alone, and that's really scary.
I noticed that before that you said that you're scared to be a failure to your parents. Have they ever expressed to you before that you failed them in some sort of way?
They haven't expressed that to me verbally. I think it's more of a feeling that I internalize. Like for example, I played basketball in college for my first year, and I had full ride for college. I was on scholarship, and my parents were very supportive of me. And then kind of towards the end of the year, I realized that I didn't love basketball anymore, and so I was worried that they would think that I was failing them because they put all this money into me practicing. And then when I told them that I didn't want to play basketball anymore, they were actually really supportive. Like they encouraged me to do what would make me happy, and they still paid for my college, which was more than I could ask for. So they've never told me I'm a failure. No, I think it's kind of just in my head.
I wonder what they would say if you told them that you're afraid of failing them, maybe coming out and saying that to them. I wonder what their response would be.
Yeah, I've never thought of what that would look like, but I think, I think that's I've never really expressed my true feelings to them, and I think that's something that is a real fear that I have, and looking back, I could see that it worked for me last time when I stopped playing basketball. So maybe it would work for me again this time. Yeah, because they've never told me I'm a failure, and if they knew that I thought that would, I'm sure that would make them sad to hear.
Yeah, of course, and maybe they'll have more of an understanding of all the pressure that this is putting on you, and maybe express that your concerns and how much you want their approval and how much their opinion means to you.
Yeah.
I definitely think that that's something that would give them more of an understanding of where you're coming from, and then maybe once that happens, we can discuss ways that we can bring your boyfriend in there too, so that everyone can be on the same page.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. I've always kind of kept my emotions to myself with my family, and just kind of kept my guard up because I just didn't want them to think that I was afraid or had this fear. So I think that that would be a good conversation to have, at least first.
Absolutely, and I think that with our next session next week, I would really love to hear what that conversation looked like and what came of that, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, so you think that I should talk to them first and express sort of that fear that I have, just alone without my boyfriend, and then bring my boyfriend into it later?
Yeah, because it seems like they're more comfortable verbalizing it to you.
Yeah.
And then maybe once you speak with them and express these fears to them, then maybe they'll be more comfortable talking with him and not making him so uncomfortable, because they'll have a better understanding.
Yeah. No, I think that would be, I'll do that before next week.
Yeah, it's a good goal to set.
Yeah.
I think good things will come of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll touch base on that next week.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to hear what happens.
Thanks for just listening to me and, helping me with my struggles.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank
I'm
you.
always here for you.